Hello, this is Berzinsky for Beardbrand Alliance. Help! I'm losing my hair. Are you sure you're losing your hair and not just growing up? Stay tuned as we talk about the mature hairline. Yes, hair loss. We hear this a lot. A lot of guys say, help me, I'm losing my hair. And in fact, 95% of all men are going to lose some or all of their hair. 95%. So you're in good company because the majority of guys are losing their hair. It's inevitable. Starting at the age of 17 until, probably about 25, 25% of all men will really start balding. These statistics are inevitable, and I do think that it is one of men's greatest fears is that they will lose their hair. Especially if you are in your late teens, early 20s, and you have what appears to be a great head of hair. And then all of a sudden you see in the sink hairs. You see on your pillow hair. You see in the shower hair. And it's not just those occasional hairs. You can lose up to 100 hairs a day, completely normal. But it's more than that, to the point where you actually start noticing it. Are you losing your hair? Or are you developing a mature hairline? In that 95% that I talked about, it's really taking into consideration that almost every guy will have a hairline that will go from what is called juvenile to mature. And so let me break that down for you. You can see in this diagram, this shows what a juvenile hairline is. It's pretty low on the forehead, rounded corners, pretty much the same on a boy or a girl, no distinction. But when you go through puberty and you hit those magic changes, all of a sudden your hairline could change. And so between the ages of 25, your hairline might have been down here, and all of a sudden it's creeping up on your forehead. For the majority of the men, this happens so slowly that you don't even notice it. But there are occasionally guys who it might be patchy, might be choppy, might happen in an accelerated way, so they think that they are losing their hair. But 95% of us are losing some hair associated with the forehead, me included. I made a video previously talking about how to style a 5-head. If you look back there, you'll see that, we call this a forehead, and we have this, and when you have a taller than average forehead, we call it a 5-head, and that was a video about how to style that. And in that video, I said, hey, I think I might have, some recession related to this. And then in doing research, I find out that yes, I am one of those 95% of men who have developed a mature hairline. So back to those diagrams. We have the juvenile hairline, which has the rounded corners fairly low on the forehead, and then the mature hairline, which is about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch higher than where the juvenile hairline was, say, at about age 16 or 17. It's also marked by more pronounced square corners, or even a slightly, what appears to be a receded corner on the back. But that is a mature hairline. And you can actually say, I'm in good company since I'm one of 95% of all people. There's a scale, and you've probably seen this in the back of magazines, or you've seen it on the internet, but you can search this. It's called the Norwood Scale, where it gives 7 distinct classifications of male pattern baldness. And so there are 7 distinctions and 7 classifications. Number 1 would be no recession at all whatsoever, or the juvenile hairline. That would only account for 5% of the male population. And most of these statistics are for Caucasian guys. The studies were done primarily on those set of gentlemen. But classification number 1, juvenile hairline. So who has a juvenile hairline? If I don't have it, who has it? You can actually think of someone like Rob Lowe, the actor, has a juvenile hairline. Former President John F. Kennedy had a juvenile hairline. And I think most famously, Ronald Reagan had a juvenile hairline. So when you look at pictures of him at the age of 20, 30, 40, compare them to pictures of him in his 80s, his hairline is 100% the same. Did not change at all. Of course, you know, hairs fall in, hairs fall out, but are replaced. In his case, they're replaced. And so he has this natural hairline, this juvenile hairline, and so that's classification 1. Someone we know probably fairly well on this channel, Carlos Costa, has what is a juvenile hairline. He has 0 recession on his forehead. You can see pictures of him when he's young, and these pictures of him now at the age of 40, he has all of his hair intact. You know, I think the other guys actually have more mature hairlines. So who has a mature hairline? Leo DiCaprio has a mature hairline. Robert Downey Jr., mature hairline. I think the most famous on this list would be actor Jon Hamm from Mad Men fame, Don Draper. Classic mature hairline, which is a hairline that is pretty similar to yours truly here. That's classification 2, the mature hairline on that Norwood scale. Classification 3 is slight, even more pronounced recessions in the corners here, even moving up slightly more on the forehead, but definitely showing some recession on the corners. So famous people who have that hairline, classification 3, would be George Bush Sr. And I think one of the most famous people sporting that hairline, and some people think that it might be mature, I think it looks more like a level 3, would be Anderson Cooper, the news reporter. So very distinct differences between a hairline like Ronald Reagan and one like Anderson Cooper. So that's just 3 of the classifications. 4, 5, 6, and 7 show progressive loss of hair in the temple, but also on the crown, and to the point where you're at 7, you have pretty much an exposed crown of hair loss. So as I said before, 95% of the people are going to lose some amount of hair. What causes this hair loss? So when you hit puberty, your hormones suddenly kick in and your body is flooded with testosterone. But not only testosterone, there's another sex hormone that is released in your body. It's DHT. And that is primarily responsible for your hair patterns. So whether you're going to get hairy on your face and all, but also the hair on your head. The hair on your head is very susceptible to this DHT. And what it does is it causes the hairs to get finer, thinner, and eventually fall out. And so the onset of DHT into the system can affect the hair loss. A lot of hair loss also is very genetic. And you see patterns of baldness or patterns of hair strength in a lot of families. In my own family, I looked to my father and saw that he had pretty much a full head of hair till the day he died at the age of 83. And I look back on pictures, he had a pretty pronounced forehead, probably in his 20s and 30s. And it did not really change significantly from that point where it was at age 30 until the age of 80. So he developed that mature hairline, but he did not have any of the onsets of the Norwood scale of 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. My uncles, his brothers, very similar. My mother's brothers, also very similar. So we have 2 families that come together with fairly good or fairly stable hair genes and create, you know, me. And so hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll keep my hair. Is it the end of the world if I lose my hair? I can actually say, oh no, I'll be fine with it. I don't think I'd be fine with it. I like the option that I can shave my head, and I've done that before. You know, I actually like the way I looked with a shaved head, and I'm looking forward to actually at some point after this hair gets cut, shaving my head or getting it really close, doing a crew cut, doing a stubble, a blur, something military with a big beard. I just want to see what that looks like. I've not shaved my head since I had either a stubble or a goatee, and I'm very curious to see what I'll look like with a shaved head and a beard. But of course, my hair will grow back. So if my hair starts falling out more than just a mature hairline, am I going to be upset? Yeah. But what are we going to do as guys? If 95% of us are losing some amount of hair, I think, you know, the best thing that we can do is accept it. I have to say that, you know, my forehead being higher, would I like it lower? Yes, I'd like it lower. You know, I think inevitably we'd all like a hairline that's strong like a Ronald Reagan. would like to have that hairline that's, down here. I think it speaks to what I think we perceive as attractive and what we perceive as masculine. But I have to say, when I see pictures of guys who have, very strong foreheads, like a John Hamm or, Robert Downey Jr., or even guys who shaved their heads, Bruce Willis, that's a great look. And so when guys say, I'm losing my hair, I'm like, okay, if I'm losing my hair any more than I do now, I would seriously look at the option of shaving my head. So let's zoom in, and I'm going to show you what's happening on my hairline and give you a little tool or a little trick that you can do to see where your hairline is and maybe where it was. So here we go. What I want you to do is wrinkle your forehead. Okay, those of you who can wrinkle your forehead, wrinkle your forehead. Okay, I'm kidding. I can wrinkle my forehead. But, that's one thing that I get a fair amount. Hey, your face is full of Botox, or you've had a hair transplant. And actually, I've had neither, as we zoom in here to see that I can wrinkle my forehead. So I want you to wrinkle your forehead and put your finger above the top wrinkle. So in most cases, the top wrinkle represents where your juvenile hairline was. So if I put my finger there, and most mature hairlines are 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch above that top wrinkle. And that's pretty consistent across my forehead here. So try that. That'll actually say, hey, my forehead has moved from what was a juvenile hairline to a mature hairline. And then you can actually gauge to whether it is beyond a mature hairline, moving into Norwood level 3. So God has a pretty good sense of humor. I talked about this before, but I have this hair here that actually represents where my hairline was at the age of 18. This hair has never fallen out, if you can see it there, but it pretty much represents where my hairline was, and it pretty much falls textbook into that 1/2 inch to 3/4 an inch above the top wrinkle on my forehead. So try that. It'll give you a gauge, give you an idea of where your current hairline is. And some guys are going to wrinkle their forehead and realize that the top wrinkle is right at their hairline. You still have a juvenile hairline. So comment below, tell us if you have a mature hairline. I want to encourage guys that if you have a mature hairline, or if you have some of that temple recession that starts happening beyond the mature hairline, that you can embrace it. So whether you choose to cover it up, wearing my hair like this, I can cover that up. But I can also celebrate a strong forehead by pushing my hair back. So embracing what I got. And so a lot of times I do that. I do push my hair back. And when I pull my hair in a ponytail, I'm rocking what I have, a strong forehead. Encourage you to do also, and to just come to terms, come to grip, be comfortable with what you have, knowing that you're in good company with 95% of the population. Until we meet again,